Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje. Guys, let's start with this. Who do you got? I mean, start with that. I was told about this fight by Ian Parker in a text message. He said, hey, did you see this? This is going on. And Ian had that scoop before it was announced. Now, I did too. I brought that to you guys. I said, hey, this is being worked on. I can't guarantee it's happening, but I can tell you that Max and Gaethje have been offered this fight and that it will be for the BMF title. Okay. Ian's job is to tell you who's going to win. Period. Ian is the gambling guy. He tells you where to put your money. And Ian took Max right away without even thinking about it. So I share from that perspective because I was on the other side of it. I just said, hey, Gaethje's just too much for him. Max didn't love 155. Max went up to 155. He took on Poirier. And Max got beat at his own game, which was the boxing. Those guys stood. And Max proved he's tougher than hell and he could go, but he never found his rhythm. Dustin threw him off all night, right? If fighting is a dance, and we often make that comparison where only one person can lead, Dustin led. And Max followed the entire night. And Max went back to 145 pounds. That was my frame of reference. But as soon as I saw this fight announced, I thought, well, Gaethje is just too much. Too big, too strong, too used to the weight class, too gritty for Max. But Ian saw it differently. He thought the matchup was great for Max. So now it's got me thinking, right? And Gaethje is a very different stand-up fighter than Poirier. Like doing that MMA math, it's different. Poirier's hands in his boxing, I mean, they're so underrated. They're largely even misunderstood. And if you go back, go back, if you want to just do something, to round 2 of McGregor-Poirier Part 2. And that will show you how damn good at boxing Dustin Poirier is. And it's very different, whereas Justin Gaethje is gritty and he's mean. And he's durable, and he's tough, and he's in your face, and he's workmanlike. But that's very different, right? Like, Max is used to dealing with guys like that. I don't know, I'm just sharing with you, like, that's a really interesting fight. And I'd like to start with, who do you think is going to win that? Because I believe whoever wins that takes everything. In combat, the history of combat is whatever you've got is on the line. They don't do that in other sports. If you win the Super Bowl, by example, your next game, the title's not on the line. You're the world champion that day, it's not on the line. If you win the Olympic Games, your next competition, that medal is not on the line. The NCAA. If you win that, whatever sport, your next game or the one after that, it's not on the line. In combat, it is every time. Every single time. So, with that in mind and us understanding those rules, of course the BMF title has to be up. Of course it does. It was wrong when George Masvidal fought Kamaru Usman, and it wasn't for the BMF title. It was wrong when George Masvidal fought Colby Covington, and it was not for the BMF title. That was wrong. This is right. But Justin Gaethje is not just the BMF champion. He is also the #1 contender. And I think that's very relevant. And it's being talked about that the winner of Charles Oliveira and Arum will be the one that fights Islam. And I push back on that. I resist that. I resist it very much. In that I believe Gaethje is the #1 contender and he's going to go have business with Max. And if Max beats him, Max takes both. He takes the belt and he takes the contendership. Now, Max came out. And the genesis of this entire conversation I'm having with you guys is Max, because Max came out and said, no, he's going to return to 145. That's the belt that he wants, whoever is the champion. And Max believes that Topuria has a very good chance with Volkanovski, which is relevant. He'd like to keep his option open, return to 45, which is his weight class as he sees it. I do understand that. Where a guy will feel something is mine, that's the one that I want. And they're not all created the same. 55 is not created the same as 45. 45 is mine. I do understand that. But I also understand And I've seen more often when a guy doesn't burn his ships, when a guy has something great to return to even in defeat, when a guy doesn't have to win. I've seen that before. And you guys are familiar with this expression, right? There was a conqueror, and I believe it was of Spain, but he pulls in with his boats and all of his men, and they get off, and there's not very many of them. And they got to go take over an entire country. And the very first thing that the leader said when they pulled those boats off is he told them, burn them. And his men said, well, if we burn them, we can't get back home. And the leader said, exactly. We have no choice but to win. That's a true story, and it's relevant, and it's a mindset. So when I hear Max talking about wanting to return to 145, I mean, I respect that. Max Holloway as a fighter, as a competitor, as a mentally tough human being. I respect everything about it, but every now and then we do something subconsciously. We don't mean to do it. And I don't know that Max fully understands the opportunity that he has. There has been a lot of 145-pound champions. There's going to be a lot more 145-pound champions. It's special, for sure. There have not been a lot of BMF champions. There have been 2, as a matter of fact. And there are not going to be a lot of BMF champions. It's a very interesting thing that I'm saying to you right now. Olympic gold medals did not used to mean much. They didn't. It wasn't looked at the way that it is now. But boy, the history books, if you can have one of those medals and tell somebody the way that that event is viewed now. And I'm sharing for you that Max's opportunity isn't down the road. His fight is now. His championship opportunity isn't potentially in the future with potentially Ilia Topuria. His championship opportunity is right now for the BMF against Justin Gaethje. But it's going to be a close fight. It's going to be a hard fight. It's going to be a long fight. And a massive part of that kind of a match, of a 25-minute drawn-out match, a massive part of that, right? All sorts of things that go into it, right? You got this pie chart, but a biggest piece is going to be who wants it more. And the guy that wants it more is the guy that needs it more. And I do get a little bit of concern when I hear Max talking about great opportunities and great shots down the road. His opportunity is now. The title is right now. BMF, that's where he belongs. 155 pounds, that's where he belongs. The biggest card of all time, it's where he belongs. It's why he was put here. Because the decision makers that can stand back and look at everything realizes that's where he belongs. But it appears that maybe Max doesn't know, and a lot of athletes suffer from this. It appears that Max possibly does not know just how good he is.